And now for our feature presentation.
He'll be fine on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series.
Watson, touchdown! Hunter Renfrow.
He got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
The Senegal baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers.
Get the ball to Bennett. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
All right, greetings and a good Monday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online, and driven by our friends and yours at Stokes Volkswagen. Find them at stokesvw.com. Find us on the JB and Goldwater app. You can also find us at jbandgoldwatershow.com. If you haven't downloaded that app, you should have it right there in your phone. You can watch and listen every day for free in its entirety, or go back and listen or watch whenever you want to, whenever you feel like it. If you are watching, look to the right of your screen. That's Darren Goldwater. To the left, that's me, Jamie. We're here until 2 o'clock this afternoon. And between now and then, as we always are, jam-packed full of information, because this weekend, another busy one in the sports world. Across all social media platforms, at JB and Goldwater, and individually at Sports Radio JB and at Darren Goldwater. 843-321-8893, 843-321-8893, our phone number. It's also our text line. And you can send us a comment there. Darren will pop it right up on the screen, or wherever you're watching and listening to our program. Send us a comment, and Darren's going to get it in, and we'll fuss and discuss here whenever we can get to it. Coming up today at 12:30, Wes Mitchell with Gamecock Central. We've got some hoops to discuss with him. Another rough game for Frank Martin and the Gamecocks on Saturday. Got some recruiting to get into as well. It's really taking off right now with offers for Carolina football. And we're going to talk to him about this Gus Malzahn situation, which we're going to get into here in just a few moments. Got Mike Uva at 1:30 today as well. He's a full-time celebrity now.
Yeah, he is.
I'm just so happy he could squeeze us into his media brigade. You know, the dude is everywhere.
He is. I mean, however old he is peaking right now. So
Yeah.
the rest of his life is a big challenge. I mean, it's massive.
That's a good point. Yeah, Mike, whatever opportunities come your way here soon, you might want to hit him up, because I don't know that it's going to – well, if it might get much better than this. We'll see. Maybe he's just getting started.
I mean, it's only in Bojangles stores in Columbia. I mean, it could go Bojangles nationwide.
Yeah.
Think big. Think big. Keep going.
Unbelievable how that's all unfolded. Unbelievable. Got some bracketology to get to. College baseball is set to go this week, finally. Look out today or first thing tomorrow morning for our college baseball primer that will be available exclusively to our season ticket holders. So if you've got the app downloaded, you'll see the season ticket suite. You can go in there and you'll be able to read up on our college baseball primer, kind of get you ready for the season in the Palmetto State, with many of our teams and some notes on a lot of them, not just at the D1 level, by the way. I got a bunch of stuff headed your way. So we have been working on it. It's a lot of information, but I do think it will give you a great look at what we're about to kind of dive into at the end of the week in college baseball here, at least on a local level in South Carolina. So really looking forward to that. Daytona, what a finish last night. Finally, the race started at 2:30 yesterday after that Dale Earnhardt Jr. E60, which I didn't get to see all of. I went with the family. We took the girls to IHOP for an 11 a.m. brunch.
Okay.
And so I didn't get to see all of it. So I plan on going back and watching the rest of it tonight. But that, you got Pebble Beach. So it was a pretty busy weekend in sports. And of course, now today we're getting the breaking news out of Clemson that their Wednesday game against Notre Dame is postponed. There is a positive COVID test on the Clemson roster. There's some contact tracing. They're still scheduled to play Pittsburgh this coming weekend. We'll see if that game unfolds. We're going to get more into hoops, but it certainly is a difficult time for them to take a hiatus because they've been playing really well. They squeezed out that win against Georgia Tech on Friday night. Right now, we'll get to bracketology in a little bit, but going into Friday's game, I think they were an 8 seed, as at least Joe Lenardi thinks.
Right. I mean, the question for
Maybe
Clemson is what stinks about the timing. They were getting back into their rhythm.
Yeah.
They had just won, 3 games in a row here. They just hit that one at the buzzer. I mean, they're riding high. You don't want to see this team hit another slump pre or post pause like they did the first time. But if they can get back on the court, there are winnable games on the backstretch of Clemson's schedule. It won't help them much from a net ranking standpoint because it's the bottom half for the most part of the ACC, but it will help them from just a simple resume standpoint, from a strength of schedule, just wins, losses standpoint. But they got to get out there on the court and play. I mean, so they can inch their way up a couple lines. They can't get up too far. Yeah. They got to be on the court.
Yeah, absolutely. As we mentioned a couple of maybe beginning of last week, every game that was left on their schedule, teams below them in the ACC, all very winnable games.
Yep.
I mean, they could really, really go on a run to end the regular season and jump that seed maybe even as high as 5 or more. Maybe. I mean, depending on what happens around them, obviously.
Right.
You know, if you have an ACC tournament and get into it and do some damage, we just don't know. But, yeah, it's really unfortunate. The football news, though, Darren, is what we'll really kind of lead off with here, and that is that Central Florida is hiring Gus Malzahn. I joked about it on Twitter earlier. I was kind of surprised that Central Florida or that Gus Malzahn would take a job at Central Florida after he lost to them in the national championship game. I was just kidding. I was totally kidding about that because they did not play Central Florida in a national championship game, although UCF would like to tell you that. But Terry Mosier here was hired to be the AD last week. He was a crossover at Arkansas State for 1 season with Gus Malzahn before the Gus bus moved east to Auburn. And, of course, now he has been fired, and he's basically reacquainted himself with Terry Mosier here down in Orlando as he's going to take over the Knights program. Look, I think it's a great hire. I think it's a great hire. I mean, I've liked Gus Malzahn for a long time. I think he did a really good job on the Plains. Obviously, they didn't think he did a good enough job, but I think this is a great fit for him. I'll be interested to see what he does with his staff, Darren. I'll tell you what. Let me throw this out there. How about Kevin Steele? Isn't that interesting?
It makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes it because I still don't understand what's going on with Kevin Steele. Does anybody know what's going on here? I mean, he gets hired at Tennessee, about a week to 10 days or so before Jeremy Pruitt's fired.
Right about that.
We're all kind of under this assumption umbrella that he's taking over the Vols program, maybe at least on an interim basis.
Yes.
By the way, prior to that, there was talk that he could be the interim head coach at Auburn. So he had a couple of interim jobs kind of right there in his hands, and neither one of them unfolded that way. And now he's still there, but he's not going to be the defensive coordinator in Knoxville. And so and no matter what, he's going to get 900. Like, let's say we're not going to keep you around. They're going to have to pay him $900,000.
Yep.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They have to pay it to him. So if I'm Kevin Steele, I'm sitting here thinking, all right, I know how to coach a defense within the Gus Malzahn offensive system, and I did it in the SEC. I could go to Orlando and this thing could really bloom.
I said to you as soon as we showed up, the fact that Malzahn is at what most people believe, and I do as well, the best group of 5 job. It is better than some Power 5s. The fact that he's there, he will be able to draw assistant coaches there because they know that they can win. So you can rehab images if that's what's necessary. You can strengthen yours if that's what's necessary. But it's Mike Morgan. He says it on the show all the time. When you're out there hiring coaches, these guys are looking for the best opportunity to have some success. You don't want to go somewhere and be just floundering around for a while, especially as an assistant. You want to go somewhere where you can have success as fast as possible and rise up these ranks in coaching.
Yeah.
You can do that right now at UCF. You can make a strong argument, and some are making it right now, that UCF lost a coach and upgraded. Got a coach that was hired away from him. They didn't fire him, lost him, and upgrade it to Gus Malzahn. You can make that case.
Does it? All right. So that brings about that's a good point, and that brings about a very interesting conversation that it's already being had, and it's going to continue to be had over at least the next couple of days in our profession. Did Tennessee or Central Florida get a better coach here?
Mm-hmm.
Because there are some that and who knows if there was any contact between Gus Malzahn and Tennessee. I don't have that answer.
Nope.
Have you heard anything?
I have not. No.
I've never heard anything about that. Maybe we'll ask somebody else this week who might know a little bit more than us, JC or Mike or somebody like that. But I don't know that those parties ever communicated.
Mm-hmm.
If they did, it's reasonable to think that maybe Gus Malzahn was like, well, now, wait a second here. I'm not going to get fired at Auburn, go to Tennessee, which could be handed down some type of hammering, penalties over the next
we just don't know
couple months or year, whatever, whenever the NCAA decides to do whatever they do. So maybe there was some interest, and maybe he said, no, thanks, but no thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Not interested in that. Maybe they weren't interested at all. Maybe Danny White didn't even make the call to Gus Malzahn, and maybe Gus Malzahn would have been interested. I don't know, but I'm just asking the simple question to you. Maybe we should have tweeted this out. It doesn't matter, but just for the sake of conversation, if you could hire Josh Heupel or if you could hire Gus Malzahn, who would you hire?
I want to know the answer to your first question. Did Tennessee reach out to Malzahn? Were there ever any discussions? And if so, which side was a little bit wary? We know that Heupel was not the first choice, even though Danny White wants us to believe that Heupel was the first choice. Heupel was not the first choice at Tennessee. Was there communication? Was it Malzahn who had cold feet? Was it Tennessee who didn't like something in Malzahn's background? I'd love the answers to those questions, because I do think you can make a very strong case. And I bet you JC on Wednesday will make this case that UCF has a better coach than Tennessee.
Oh, I bet he will.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think there's a lot of people that are going to make that case right now. I mean, and you know what? It just might be a better fit for Gus as well in Orlando right now, kind of out of that SEC spotlight.
Yep.
Not having to, it's not necessarily baggage, but not necessarily having to bring the most recent history with him to his next job, where everything he does is going to be compared to what he just did. He's going to go to Central Florida. There's so much talent, not just in Orlando, but as we all know, in the state of Florida itself. He's a guy who can certainly recruit. Central Florida is going to play a bunch of really good teams.
Yep.
And then that spirals another question, which is Gus Malzahn a guy who's going to be at UCF for a while? Or is he a guy who's going to be at UCF until there's another gig in the SEC that's maybe a much better fit, or maybe it's more primed for him to step in and take over, if that makes sense. Maybe Tennessee isn't wouldn't have been the right fit, no matter whether he was interested or not, just because we don't know what's coming. We don't know exactly. I mean, I think there is a rebuild to be made at Tennessee, and we don't know exactly what that looks like. If you're a fired SEC football coach, I mean, Will Muschamp just went through this not too long ago. He gets fired at Florida.
By the way, there's another defensive coordinator candidate, even though he is on staff as an analyst at Georgia, I would think.
Well, I don't see it.
Okay.
You talking about Will leaving Athens to go down there?
Yeah, if he's just an analyst down there, unless there's something lined up that we don't know about.
Yeah, I don't see it.
Okay.
I don't see it. I don't think that Will Muschamp would want anything to do with that right now. Because, look, Will Muschamp's proven everything he needs to prove in his career about whom he is as a defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
I think the best thing for him to do after going what he just went through is exactly what he's doing. Stay out of the spotlight. Your track record as a DC is really good, really good.
Mm-hmm.
Just stay out of the spotlight until you see something that you really want to be involved in, maybe a bigger DC role out there where you could go earn $1.5 million or more a year. He ain't going to go to – they're not paying him that there. They're not going to.
No, but if – I mean, there is a prior relationship with Malzahn and Kevin Steele, but if Kevin Steele, who has the similar reputation, if he would be a candidate because of the, I guess, relationship with Malzahn.
Yeah, well, I mean, because Will and Gus have a relationship from the 1 year that Will was DC at Auburn before he came to South Carolina too.
So that's there also.
But I just don't. I mean,
it's a good point. Yeah. It's a fair point.
I would think the Kevin Steele situation more than anything I mean, and Will's with his son in Athens. I just don't see that changing. I really don't. But is Gus a guy who? I mean, what are? All right, let's go ahead and jump on this train. Let's just play this game. This is the dumbest game to play in February every year, and we're just going to follow along with some of the other jacklegs that have done it over the years. But who would be on the quote SEC hot seat coming up in 2021? Well, we know who it's not. It's not at Alabama. It's not at Ole Miss. It's not at South Carolina. Right. It's not at Vanderbilt. It's not at Auburn. It's not at Tennessee.
Yep.
It's not at Texas A&M. It is not at Florida. It is not at Georgia. Kentucky?
Maybe Florida. With the little bit that happened at the end there.
Okay.
Maybe.
But
they'll have to be bad.
Yeah, they'll have to be bad.
Yeah,
okay. All right, that's a good point. So they're not any good. You pair that with, maybe Dan Mullen didn't have the most friends in the athletics department in Gainesville. Yeah. All right. Okay. You never know. All right. But from just strictly a program perspective of like, hey, you need to be good or I don't know. Is it Orgeron? Is it Kentucky? Maybe. Like, let's say that Mark Stoops rolls out another 6-6 this year. Would Malzahn be a good fit in Lexington? I think he would.
I think there's going to be pressure on Orgeron because they've continued to recruit well despite the slip on the field.
He just replaced his whole staff and about half his team.
Right. So can you go out? Can you go out there and raise the level back up?
Yeah.
I don't think he's fireable hot seat, but if they're again a 500, 600 type team, it's not going to go over well.
I mean, I think as it pertains to this really stupid conversation to even have right now, which Mike Morgan will be laughing his pants off at us. Like, come on. But like, as it pertains to this conversation specifically, let's say that Gus Malzahn's like, yeah, I love it down here. But in the back of his mind, he's like, I'd also love to get back into the SEC and make $5 million a year or whatever it is. By the way, I'm a national championship coach. When you enter the season, it's not, Arkansas, Sam Pittman's not on any hot seat out there at all. God, if anything.
Absolutely not.
All right. So I would say Kentucky in the East and probably LSU in the West.
Would Malzahn only entertain SEC? Would he not entertain a bigger job in another Power 5?
No, I think he would.
Yeah.
I mean, like Mark Richt. Mark Richt did it. He went to Miami and didn't last long, but he went down there and did a nice job.
Yeah, if it's a fit. If it's a fit, I think the more relevant conversation is, can we expect Malzahn to be there very long? And I think the fair expectation for any coach not in a Power 5 job is that there's always a chance he will move on. If you're anyone in any profession is trying to be the best that they can be. If Malzahn is taking this job believing he can win a national championship, that's great. I don't know if he honestly believes that at a Group of 5 school. If he is taking it to get as close as possible to then have another school say, all right, look, you got a national championship. You almost, you did as well as you could, maybe went undefeated or something like that down at Central Florida, and we'll give you a shot. That makes more sense to me.
Yeah.
That's just the natural flow of the business.
Right.
If you're succeeding somewhere, you're going to appear on lists. People are going to come after you. So that, to me, that's just the natural flow of it.
Yeah, this will be really fascinating to watch. By the way, Cole Kubelik with the SEC Network ESPN reports that there is mutual interest for Travis Williams to become the defensive coordinator at UCF. He also follows that with long way to go to finalize, but very possible at this point. Travis Williams has been the linebackers coach at Auburn. He's an Auburn guy, very respected on the Plains, not retained, though, by Brian Harsin. Maybe this will be his opportunity to step up into the DC role and go down there with Gus. Who knows? But I would anticipate probably a name or two, certainly from Auburn, to follow him down there, guys that he's very comfortable with. So we'll see how it works out. You mentioned, is Gus going to Central Florida with the hopes of playing for a national championship? Yeah, the only hope with that is that they expand the playoff. That's it.
Yeah.
And that's probably what UCF is hoping too. Look, we need to hire a guy who understands what it's like to play in this environment if we can, because at some point in time, this sucker's probably going to get expanded. It more than likely is. If you had to bet today, would you bet it's going to go to 8 in the next, 5 years?
Yes.
I'd bet that.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that's a fair window.
Okay. And I agree with you. And so, he would fit right in down there. We know he can recruit. We know he can coach. But I think it's a great hire for Central Florida. I did have somebody last night Let me go back and find this in the old, as Ryan McGee calls it, the old tweeter machine here. I did have somebody last night say, Gamecock Mike, he said, I thought they might offer Jamie Chadwell. Gus doesn't seem like a very good fit. So I respect everybody's opinion. Certainly disagree with the second half there. The first half, I thought they might offer Jamie Chadwell. Here's the thing, like right here in South Carolina, we pretty much hear it, right? I mean, if it's going on, we get a whisper.
Yes.
And I didn't hear one whisper about this from anybody. If I was Jamie Chadwell, I would have zero interest in taking that job because of what he's done at Coastal Carolina and the opportunities he's had and the program he's built up there. I would personally view that as a lateral move, and I don't think it would be a smart move for him. Doesn't matter now; it's a moot point. But if that was a consideration for some folks, I would. If I was Jamie Chadwell, I'd say no thanks.
I agree because I don't think where he is right now, UCF is a better job than Coastal Carolina is.
Sure,
it is a better job. Mm-hmm. It is not a better job for Jamie Chadwell because Jamie already has the footing at Coastal. Right. He has the team. He's got his system. He's got the backing. He's got a brand new contract. He is not in he is the mayor of Conway.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, maybe something more than the mayor of Conway right now. Why would he go somewhere else and risk having that luster dull before a Power 5 job open for him?
Yeah.
Right. So it doesn't make sense that he would do that.
No,
but I do think it's a better job. I just don't think it's a better job for Chadwell.
I mean, if you're Jamie Chadwell and your ultimate goal is to take a step up in coaching one day, whether that's into the ACC or the SEC or wherever, but a step up, a Power 5 job, you absolutely have every opportunity to do that right where you are right now. You don't have to take the UCF job to do that. I think the only thing that I could possibly come up with that would give him any reason to ever consider a move like that would be financially. And I don't even know that would be worth it at this point in time because of what he's done there. Now, it's amazing what changes because a year ago, if his name would have floated, he would have been like, I'm sure there would be more interest.
Right. Well, a year ago, Coastal was picked last in their division.
Exactly.
And then they became what they are.
Right.
So, yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, the future is just too bright for him up there. So, anyways, wanted to get to that. It was a quick Twitter note. 12:22 here on this Monday afternoon. It is chilly and damp, although it will warm up a little bit throughout the evening. And then guess what? The cold comes back tomorrow. It's going to be a really strange week as we lead into baseball. But because it's chilly and damp, nothing warms you up better than a cheesesteak from DB's Cheesesteaks. DB'sCheesesteaks.com. If you're in the low country, make sure you head to the website. Check out the entire menu. You can order online via any delivery app that you have, like DoorDash or Uber Eats or anything like that. Whatever you order, though, don't forget the boardwalk fries. And remember, my favorite is the buffalo chicken cheesesteak. And if you haven't tried it, I don't know what the hell you're waiting on, but you need to get one. DB'sCheesesteaks.com for their entire menu in Avondale and West Ashley. South Carolina fell this weekend to Ole Miss. And, this is a conversation we're going to have a couple of times today. We do have Wes Mitchell coming up in less than 10 minutes. We also have Mike Yuva ahead at 1:30 this afternoon. But it wasn't look, let's first acknowledge that Ole Miss is playing really good basketball. All right. Let's also acknowledge that South Carolina is not playing good basketball.
Those are good things, yeah.
Okay. Generally that doesn't mesh well.
No.
All right. And it didn't on Saturday. And South Carolina falls by 7 to the Rebels, who have now won 3 or 4 in a row. And South Carolina lost every game on this 3-game homestand. They're only 3-7 in the SEC. They're not going to sniff the postseason. 5-9 overall. And this program just looks really lost. A couple of points. If you, for some reason, decided to skip the game, Jermaine Couisnard goes down early with an ankle injury. We'll see what that means moving forward. One of the things that has been a hot talking point for fans over the last 48 hours, Darren, is the fact that Columbia native, or Irmo native, I should say, Devontae Shuler chipped in 31 points, a career high for himself. And the Rebels get above 500 in the league at 7-6, 12-8 overall. By the way, they might be starting to creep onto the bubble.
Yep.
For the NCAA tournament, which is incredible with what they've done over the last couple of weeks. But you got a little bit of a problem here, and it's a difficult conversation to have because I was just on the phone with somebody having a very similar conversation. You've got, look, in sports, as we know, it's wins and losses. All right. You and I had a lot of conversations about Will Muschamp, and a lot of people had no time or business hearing what I had to say about Will Muschamp because I didn't think they should fire him in the middle of the year. Let it play out. Let's see how things unfold and this, that, and the other. But I'm like that with anything. Let the season play out and then see what you need to do at the end of the season. There's also there's a human conversation to be had with this as well, because I think we all know I really don't care that people watch TV and see Frank Martin yelling at his players and they think that he's just some awful human being, because he's not. No, at all. It's actually the exact opposite. He cares more about them than in some cases some of the people in their own families do. I mean, this guy is I mean, ask those closest to Frank Martin, they'll tell you, I don't know if there's somebody out there with a bigger, softer heart than Frank Martin.
No, he's a good guy.
I mean, he is
widely acknowledged as a great guy.
He's one of the best basketball guys in the country. He is respected from coast to – he knows everybody. Everybody. Ask Coach K about Frank Martin. So there's a humanizing factor when you have these conversations for those who've interacted with him, and we have multiple times over the years. And then there's the stat sheet.
Yep.
And the stat sheet says – they're 5-9 with his best team since the Final Four run. They're 3-7 in the league, and they're not clicking. You wonder if basketball is at the forefront of Frank Martin's mind, night in and night out.
Yeah,
he's lost some friends to death for different reasons. He's had COVID issues himself twice, and he's got other things that have been going on. And so you wonder if that has taken hold or effect on his program, because look, you follow your leader in sports, man. You know, that's your leader generally is who you're going to be. And that's one of the things about Carolina basketball over the last 7 or 8 years. They've been an incredibly tough program, but look no further than Frank Martin. That's why, because he is tough. How tough is he right now? And I'm asking that question from my heart, not my head. Like, with everything he's gone through, I don't know that his message is translating.
I think he's super tough, maybe as tough as he's ever been right now.
Right. No,
but right. So just
two sides of that coin.
Right. But is the message getting through? We talked about that prior to, what was it? The Alabama game, I believe it was, when I said, or you know what, maybe it was the Florida game when they went down and beat Florida. And there was just a different message coming from Frank Martin. You could hear it in his voice prior to the game and in the Zoom calls. And I said, you know, maybe this is good. Maybe this will translate to the guys. And it did. But is it sustainable when clearly the energy level isn't there? This is a tough conversation for me to have, because I don't care if South Carolina loses the rest of their games. Frank Martin should not be fired after this year. There is zero question in my mind, and I will not waver off that. This has been a very different basketball season than it was a football season. COVID has impacted the sport very differently. That's why, as a side note, I think Michigan's win over Wisconsin yesterday was one of the best wins in college basketball this year, because they came back after a 20-day pause. Michigan's super good, but really hadn't beaten anyone, and they were down 14 at Wisconsin. I thought they'd get killed. But most schools going through pauses really have trouble bouncing back. And that's why, for me, I'm giving it a pause. But I understand the frustration. I understand it was supposed to be the best team since the Final Four. I'm ready to move on from that. It's clearly not.
Right. Yeah.
For a litany of reasons. It's a disappointing year. It's a frustrating year. But I'm not ready to move on. I just think there are so many extenuating circumstances.
Yeah. I mean, the word is apathy.
Yeah.
And if apathy has set in, you've got a problem. Every athletics director has an issue when apathy sets in.
Yes.
And if that's where we are, it makes this a really, really, really difficult conversation to have. Now, some people will hear that and say, it's not that difficult. He's not winning. Fire him. I get it. Okay. I get it. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. We're all seeing the same things everybody else is seeing out there on the court. All right. So I'm not going to downplay that opinion, because it's about winning in basketball games. It's about winning and losing basketball games, just like in any other sport. If you can't win, probably time to find the next guy. I get it. But, you know, at the same time, if apathy hasn't set in, there's some momentum in the program and there's reasons to be optimistic and supportive of the future, then you don't do that.
Yep.
You support it, you fix what you need to fix, you tweak it, whatever it is, and you move forward with what you've got. We're going to have more of this conversation coming up here in a minute. And again, later on, we're going to hit a quick timeout. When we return, Wes Mitchell with Gamecock Central, he'll join us. We'll touch on some hoops. We'll get into some recruiting and football offers flying out for South Carolina. And we'll talk to him about Gus Malzahn as well. So hang tight. The JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. We'll be right back.
Is your old car really scary? Does it look dreadful or smell awful? Don't be frightened. There's never been a better time to trade in your spooky old car. Stokes Volkswagen just received a new shipment of the VW Atlas and VW Crossport. But here's what makes that even sweeter. Every new Atlas and Crossport is $3,000 off MSRP. Plus, every 2020 Volkswagen is available with 0% financing. That's right. You get both the huge discount and 0% financing. So if you want to play trick or treat at other dealerships, that's okay. Come see us at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or visit stokesvw.com.
Stand love. Stokes VW.
Plus tax tag includes $399.50 closing fee. Offer subject to lender approval.
What's up, everyone? JB here. Want to tell you about my friends at McFadden Pest Control, as we do every day on our program. I love these guys. They've been in business over 40 years, and they treat our family like they've only been around for 4 days. Always doing their best work, trying to earn our business, although they know that they'll always have it. Heath and the guys take care of our quarterly, our mosquitoes, termite bonds, anything we can get them to do, they do it. They're the best. They're friends. Heath even often texts me and just asks to see how my family's doing. It's amazing. I can't say enough about McFadden Pest Control. Switch to them. You'll never have anyone else protect your home. McFaddenPestControl.com, McFaddenPestControl.com here in the Low Country.
Family Bingo Night is back. All 3 Dog and Duck locations. Every Monday from 6 to 8 is the perfect time to bring the kids, have dinner, and play bingo. They've upped the prizes with retail store gift cards, gas cards, in-house cash cards, and kid-friendly gift cards like Nintendo, pizza, App Store, and more. Thanks for supporting local businesses like the Dog and Duck in Bell Hall, Park West, and on Clements Ferry Road.
You don't think? You don't think? I don't think you should be butting in when I'm talking to my team. You're my assistant, okay? You're supposed to back me up and go get me juice boxes when I tell you. Now go get me a juice box.
You know who you're talking to.
I'm talking to the juice box guy.
You're crazy.
Now, JB and Goldwater, live in the Low Country.
Happy President's Day. 12:33. Welcome back. The JB and Goldwater Show, protected by McFadden Pest Control. It was Monday afternoon, day after Valentine's Day. Hopefully everybody treated their Valentines to something special. We made cupcakes at my house.
Did you really?
Uh-huh.
My whole I can't walk in my boot took away all the possibility of doing last-minute Valentine's Day shopping, because last minute is the only minute when it comes to gifts and anything. So we made the best of it. Hit up Dog and Duck really quick and kind of came back and put my foot up on the couch.
Yeah, there you go. Nice day. How about you, Wes? Did you treat your lovely lady, your well, not significant other, your better half to something special for Valentine's Day?
I did. You have to. And hey, I mean, guys, we have no excuse these days. All you have to do is go on Amazon and you can pick from thousands of things and they just throw it on your porch in 2 days.
Dude,
that's true. I could have done that.
And you're right. Darren, he's spot on.
Yes.
Wes, isn't Amazon the death of every man out there? Like every birthday, every holiday, like everything, you're like, oh, son of a blank, I forgot. And it's like Amazon, dude. You know?
Yeah. All my shopping now, Amazon. Like I don't know how we did it before, honestly. I don't know how we survived.
So because you're right. I'll say this though. I am still old school, especially with Christmas. I love to go out and do the Christmas shopping. Like it just makes me feel better. Am I now in the minority with that?
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, yes. I don't know what the numbers are there for you, but I don't know, man. It gets so crowded out there, and you can just get on Amazon and do it all at once. I'm all here for the convenience.
Well, look. Speaking of convenience, let me make my pitch. I know that they've I've heard rumors about this, but I don't know exactly what's going on. I have 2 young children now.
Yes.
So for goodness sakes, bring back Toys R Us. I just want to walk through and just throw things in the cart and move on. Like, come on, dude. Walmart and Target suck for kids. The place is a train wreck. There's never enough aisles open. I want to go to Toys R Us and see the stuff. Give me the stuff.
Fair.
All right. Had to get that off my chest. Sorry, Wes.
I believe we struck a nerve there.
We have. I've been trying to say this for a long time. I keep forgetting. I'm glad we got into it.
So you like the absence of Toys R Us or January, which is worse?
January.
Okay.
Yeah, January. We're in February, dude. Baseball starts. What are you talking about? All right. Meanwhile, it's almost 50 degrees here. It is still like -11 at my in-laws in Laramie, Wyoming. Just to pass that along. Wes, look, we'll get into some recruiting stuff here in just a minute. I want to get your thoughts on Carolina hoops. I mean, this isn't generally, we have more conversation about what we saw in the game and things like that, and people don't want to hear it. They don't care what your breakdown of the game is anymore. What they're looking at is a 5-9 squad that's 3-7 in the league. It's the best team since the Final Four run. We know all the talking points. We've all said them, and we're all right. COVID crushed this team. It's probably crushed Frank Martin. Personally, he has had a very difficult year. We know all that stuff, and but the record is what it is. And even Frank said after the loss to Alabama, look, we've been playing for 3 weeks. This excuse is out the window as far as I'm concerned. And then we saw Devontae Schuler from Irmo come in and drop 31 points on him on Saturday afternoon. I'm going to ask you a question. You have the pulse of all those at Gamecock Central for the most part. I know some of them are deep off the ledge at times, but do you feel like apathy is setting in with this basketball program? Is there any comparison to what we went through in the middle of the season with Will Muschamp in football?
I mean, yeah, in a sense, maybe so. I don't know if we're quite at the point it was towards the end of the football season, but certainly fans are frustrated right now. You can understand that. Obviously, I don't directly cover the basketball program, but it seems like, Frank Martin is frustrated as well. It seems like everybody's frustrated. This was a season that came in, I think with a lot of promise, and, I think a season that was derailed, we can say pretty firmly by COVID, but I think, people, it seems, are just tired of hearing that, just talking about, the vibe I get from the fan base right now. And yeah, I think the fact that it's kind of one of those things where you can very clearly see both sides of this argument. I can understand how there's some context there to South Carolina not, making the tournament other than the 1 year, but then the other side, the people who are frustrated about the lack of progress this year, especially, you can see their side to this as well. And I think just watching Frank Martin's interviews and his post game and his pre-game stuff that they do, a couple of days before the games, you can feel his frustration as well.
Look, people like to throw around these numbers, Wes. And again, I know that you're not directly out there covering the basketball games every night. Neither am I. But we're close enough to it to have, I think, a thoughtful opinion on these situations and to be able to have these conversations. And people will keep continuing to want to throw out 1 and 9. We've been to one tournament in 9 years. All right. Well, hold on. First of all, this year isn't complete.
Mm-hmm.
Last year was cut short of COVID. Were they headed towards making the tournament at that point in time? No, they had fallen short at the end of the year. They dropped that game in Nashville. They're going to go have to probably win at least a couple of games in the SEC tournament. That would have gotten them to 20 plus wins, and we would have seen what happened from there. I say all that though to say this, Wes. I don't know that it's fair to judge Frank Martin on 1 and 9 or 1 and 8 or anything like that. I think what's fair is post Final Four run. I think that's what people were concerned about. I think everybody was more than willing to give Frank Martin 4, 5, 6, whatever years to get this thing into the dance, and he got him there after the NIT appearance in 2016. The next year they make that magical run, and I think people thought that was going to springboard into something that was more like a, maybe every 2-3 years they'd be in the tournament, 2 out of every 5 years, something like that. And here we are. They're not in it. And I think that's where they need to judge, right? Is that fair to say we need to judge what he's done since that run?
Yeah, I mean, I think I always sort of said, hey, the first couple of years, it's kind of year zero, honestly. And, not everybody likes to think of it that way, but that's, to me, that was fair. I mean, you look at how just bad the program was when Frank Martin took over. It was going to take time to build this thing up. And then you look, even the year before the Final Four run, that team should have been in the tournament. That was a tournament team if I've ever seen one. So, you really, for a stretch there, you're talking about a program that was just snake bit. I mean, Frank Martin, frankly, for a stretch, had the worst luck of any coach I think I've ever seen. And, as far as losing guys, for off the court stuff, or then losing guys to injury. And obviously the situation there the year before the Final Four run, I guess that was 2016, when you even get a text saying you're in and you weren't in. I mean, I think the frustration has started to bubble up. Again, I'm with you. I don't know if like the 1 in 9 or whatever it is. Is it factual? Yeah, I guess by the end of the year it will be. I think that eliminates a lot of context that is important there. But I think the frustration right now from the fan base is sort of the sense that, okay, the year after the Final Four, you sort of know you're going to take a step back, and, you lost some guys. You lose Dozier early, and then you expect a little step back. But then I think we all, fans, media, thought, it would sort of steadily rise back up again. And right now, I think the frustration is sort of in seeing things play out sort of, frankly, the same the last few years, where it's you beat some teams nobody expects you to, you lose some games that you're not supposed to lose. And then on top of that, fair or not, fans are seeing guys from this state go to other places and in some cases play very well. So Now here's the thing. Devontae Shuler, by all indications, was never going to come to South Carolina. He wanted to get out of – his family wanted him to get out of town. He wanted a new start. I don't really think there's anything Frank Martin could have done in this case about that. Now, as far as the big picture, though, when you see multiple guys leaving the state, I think ultimately that's sort of been the most difficult thing for fans to swallow. Again, I'm speaking on sort of what I see from the pulse of the fan base on Gamecock Central, has just been constantly missing on some guys and not being able to break through that sort of barrier that's been there for a long time, and that's trying to keep guys in state, keep the top guys in state, I should say. And you see what happens when they were able to do that, for a couple of years. And Darius Thornwell, PJ Dozier, you add those guys with some really good evaluations and development from out of state, and boom, you're in the Final Four for the first time ever.
On Twitter at Wes Mitchell GC. And you're exactly right. And it's not the Zion Williamsons of the world. Like he wasn't coming to South Carolina. I know he visited. I know that 18,000 people chanted his name. I was in the building when that happened. All right. But he wasn't coming here. But folks are looking at, look what, John Morant went to Murray State. They're looking at him. They're looking at the kid at Alabama. Murphy Holloway went to Ole Miss. They're looking at, Seventh Woods. Seventh Woods grew up a North Carolina fan. He always wanted to play North Carolina. He always wanted to put 23 on his chest, and that's what his dream was. I think Seventh Woods would have been much better off playing in South Carolina's system because he would have been playing in South Carolina's system. But anyways, to Wes's point, I think you're spot on with that, dude. And it hurts to have the conversation because we've interacted with Frank, and this is a guy who like I have 2 little daughters, and if somebody said, who do you want to teach your kids about basketball, about life, about cooking? I don't care.
I'm the cooking one.
I would say, I would absolutely say Frank Martin. I know what this guy stands for. I know who he is as a human being. You do, we all do. But, people are looking at the results on the court. And I'll add to that too, and we'll move on here, Wes. If this team wasn't talented, or if they weren't returning all these players, let's say you started fresh this year, you had to go out and plug 4 or 5 new guys in, a bunch of new recruits, and they lost a chunk of the program after last season or something, I think people will be looking at this as, golly, we're rebuilding again, but we're rebuilding. But there were expectations, and they haven't even come close to meeting them, COVID or not. And that's what people are seeing. That's, I think, where a lot of this is starting to spew out, because there were real expectations, and they're nowhere close to them.
Yeah, you're right. And I think like you said, Frank Martin, he's an outstanding coach as well. He's not just an outstanding person. He's an outstanding coach. Now, I think, again, to me, it goes back, some of the frustration from the fan base goes back to some of the recruiting misses, because I think, maybe you're like one guy away in a lot of these instances of sort of taking that next step and consistently being really, really good. Now, I will say I hate when people make this argument, in football. Well, if it's not working out, well, who are you going to go get? Who are you going to go get? But I will say this. I firmly believe there's not very many basketball coaches that are truly better coaches out there than Frank Martin. Yeah. I mean, nationally, I still firmly believe Frank Martin is one of the best coaches in the country. So it's just a matter of how the fan base feels moving forward, how the administration feels, and stuff like that. You get their frustration. And honestly, again, I go back and forth, y'all. The expectations this year have certainly not been met. And I do still think, though, this is probably a different year if we're not talking about COVID and we're not talking about having so many just cutoffs where you get going, then you stop. You get going, then you stop. Because this Frank Martin's defense is very different, I feel like, and the approach is very different from a lot of places. So we've seen it takes time for his teams to gel together and mold together and sort of get – I mean, that Final Four team was playing its absolute best basketball at the right time of the year. They didn't look like that the entire year. So, I think it's one of those things we will never know, unfortunately, what this team would have looked like or could have been if not for everything that's sort of been thrown at them.
Yep. Wes, let's get to football. Let's start with the news of the day. Gus Malzahn now named the head football coach down at UCF. Of course, he spent the majority of his head coaching tenure at Auburn, and Carolina just beat those guys this year, as a matter of fact, for the first time in a long time in Williams-Brice Stadium. Your thoughts on that hire?
I think it's a great hire. They potentially upgraded. I don't want to say I'm not a Heupel fan. That's not true. I'm maybe uncertain about the hire for Tennessee. I mean, could you have made a case that UCF made a better hire than Tennessee? I think you could certainly make that argument. I look, and to me, I've always wondered what Malzahn could do if he was in the SEC East as opposed to, the SEC West pressure cooker, where you're dealing not only with all the other teams in the West, but with Alabama also, of course, being right there in your own state. So I wondered if Tennessee would have made that move. What does that look like? And now you see UCF goes out, gets a guy with SEC experience, gets a guy with championship game experience. And I don't know, if you're sitting there in UCF's shoes, I don't know if you could have made a better hire, honestly, because you're talking about a guy who comes in. Is this scheme exactly the same? No, of course not. But you have a team that's built around offense. You have a team that's built around the spread offense. So there will be changes schematically, I'm sure, but you're not talking about going from one way of doing things completely to another. So I think this is a great hire for UCF and could actually end up being a really good fit for Gus Malzahn as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I echo those comments. So does Darren. And we actually had a fun conversation about this at the top of the show. You never want to be the idiots in February who are projecting hot seats in the
in college
football. You know, we know they're all out there, and we certainly aren't those guys. But you know, one of the questions I asked him or I asked Darren hypothetically was, you know, is this somewhere that I know that him and Terry Mosier here are reacquainting themselves with each other from their 1 year at Arkansas State, but you know, is this Gus Malzahn's like move? Like, is this where he wants to be for 4 or 5 years or longer? Or we don't really know the answer to this question. But if I ask you, what is your hunch, Wes? Do you think that in the next couple of years, 2-3 years or so, Gus Malzahn might be intrigued or interested in a job and getting back at the Power 5 level, the SEC, the ACC, something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think if he does well, he will have those options. You know, some other schools will look at what he did in totality at Auburn, and then obviously if he gets things rolling at UCF, you know, but we'll see. Does he want to make that leap again? This may be a situation where he gets down there, gets settled in, realizes that there's a little bit better life not having to be in that SEC West Auburn pressure cooker, and you know, he could fall in love with the place. So we'll see. I think this could be a great fit. There's always going to be athletes in Florida, so he's going to have I don't want to say easy access, but he's going to have access to playmakers down there. You know, the thing with Gus Malzahn has always been if he has somebody who can run his offense at the quarterback position, then you know he's going to be pretty good, and I think he can find that in Florida. And you know, we'll see where that goes, but part of me, I'm sure if he does well, there will be options. Part of me would not be surprised, though, if he just gets down there and is like, man, you know, living down here ain't half bad. And maybe he just sticks around for a while.
To piggyback on that, how about the timing of this? Because Darren and I were having the conversation about inevitability and the fact that they're probably going to expand the college football playoff. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking probably in the next 4 or 5 years, you're going to see this thing change, if not sooner. Darren, we don't know Wes, we don't know what's going to change. You got NIL coming up soon. By the way, he's in Florida. NIL laws, they come into play this summer.
That's right.
So, you know, the timing of it, landing at this job, we all know what UCF has done, I'd say over the last 5 or 6 years or so. If the playoff itself it expands in the next 4 or 5 years, he could be sitting in a wonderful spot to get them into the college football playoff down there as a G5 team by taking this job in the time that he took it.
Well, and I mean, how many better group of 5 jobs are there in the country than this job? None. I mean, there can't be many, and you're taking over again. You're taking over a program that's not rebuilding. You know, it's one thing if you're taking over. Most coaches are coming to a situation for a reason, you know, that there's been a change, that not many places have had the success they have, but also are sort of where they are within their conference and within their level of college football. So, yeah, I agree 100%. I got to think that if this thing goes to 8, there's going to be some connection there where you try and give at least one spot to a non-Power 5 school, you know, in the playoff, maybe your best non-Power 5 school potentially. So it could set up very, very well for him. And I'm telling you, if I'm UCF, I'm thrilled. Like I'm pumped. I think I got my guy. You know, again, Heupel's a smart guy, smart offensive mind, but you know, I always was sort of under the impression he was just sort of carrying over what had already kind of been developed there. And, you know, Gus, I think if anything, is someone that gives you immediate credibility, and I believe the recruiting will take off pretty instantly as well. We'll see what he can do as far as building a staff. It is sort of a weird time to be making a coaching change. But, I mean, as we've seen, y'all, coaches still completely willing to jump around and move around. So, maybe that's not really an issue at all.
Yeah, we mentioned Kevin Steele. We'll see what happens with him. Travis Williams being reported by Cole Kubelik that there's mutual interest for him to come down there and actually take a step up, maybe be the DC for Gus. Of course, he's been coaching linebackers at Auburn underneath him for the last couple of years. I have a feeling this is going to be a quick answer, and I hate asking this question, and you're probably going to cringe when I do it, but just give me the quick no and we'll move on. any connection to anybody on the Carolina staff that we should maybe keep our eyes on for the sake of conversation here?
No, not that I know of. Off the top of my head, I'll tell you if he could get Travis Williams, which I believe is at Miami as linebackers coach now, or where is T. Will?
Well, I saw the rumors that he was being considered down there, but I don't know if he ever officially got hired or not.
Anyway, if he could go get him, to me that would be outstanding. I'm a big Travis Williams fan. Obviously, Columbia guy. I wondered if he would be in the mix in the running here at South Carolina for Beamer's staff when he was putting it together. So, yeah, I would be a fan of that. I can't, after the way things sort of played out at Auburn, I can't really see Kevin Steele. I wouldn't imagine him being an option there, or somebody that Gus wanted to bring in. So we'll see. But yeah, that would be strong, I think.
He did get hired at Miami. You're correct. So it would be a promotion for him from linebackers coach to defensive coordinator. All right, last couple of minutes here, and then we'll let you run, brother. On the recruiting front, offers are flying out left and right. Just kind of give us a quick overhead look here at what's been going on maybe in the last week since you and I last spoke. I know they've got some more QB offers out there, but what have you been tracking most closely at Gamecock Central?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing, y'all, is just the staff getting a chance to get settled in and sort of put their own spin, their own twist on the recruiting board. Obviously, these type of things, it takes time, and it takes a lot of effort to go through just film after film after film. Obviously, we know right now none of it is on the road. There's no in-person evaluation, so you're just literally watching what amounts to hours of film. So I think right now each guy at his position is going through film, starting to maybe create his own board, maybe reorganize the board that he sort of inherited. Look at the guys that already have offers, say, hey, am I moving this guy up? Am I moving this guy down? Am I going to sort of double down and make sure I re-offer this kid and make him a top priority? So that's sort of what's going on. That's why you see so many offers going out right now. Quarterback, obviously, big priority for South Carolina is to find out who that guy's going to be for the 2022 class. You want a quarterback in every cycle. They need to have a guy there, obviously, to replace Gunnar Stockton. I know the fans like reading and hearing about quarterbacks as well. The most recent offer is to this kid, Drew Alar, who is from Ohio. I think is a big-time prospect. He doesn't quite have the ranking yet. He just put up some new film, I think, a week ago. So I'm expecting this kid to sort of blow up from what I've seen of the film. The funny thing is, it used to be, I'm even talking 5-6 years ago, coaches still were very caught up, I feel like, in fundamentals and technique of how you throw the football, and that guys had sound technique. Now, after watching Patrick Mahomes, everybody wants somebody that can throw the ball from these different arm slots and can throw the ball like a shortstop almost. And this Drew Alar kid, he throws the ball from every arm slot you can imagine. Just really talented kid. And like I said, he's like a 3-star guy now, but I would envision him sort of continuing to blow up.
Okay, we'll keep our eyes on that. What about this? We've got Yuva on later on in the program. Apparently, there's a kid from Assumption College or University, I guess is what they call it now, where Mike Yuva attended school. A cornerback who now has an offer from South Carolina, could be another transfer for the Gamecock. Do you have anything on him?
Yeah, Carlins Platel. He is a big kid. I think he's 6'1", 6'2", someone that South Carolina came across in the transfer portal. Grad transfer guy. Really actually has sort of seen his recruitment take off in the last maybe week or so. Coastal Carolina was actually the first to sort of hop in, or the first bigger school to hop in on him. Now South Carolina's in on him. Mississippi State is in on him. He's got a virtual visit with South Carolina on Tuesday, and then we'll sort of go from there as far as maybe narrowing in on a decision. So I do. It sort of sounds like South Carolina's in good shape, but we'll sort of see where it goes after that virtual visit.
Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday this week for GC Live. So make sure if you're on Twitter to follow us or follow Gamecock Central at Gamecock Central. Follow Chris Clark, all these guys. I'll let you know what they have coming up on their live program. Just 3 days this week, though. They needed some downtime.
That's okay.
Yeah.
You're taking President's Day off. You're just hanging with us.
Yeah, very kind.
Yeah, well, and we're during the season, we're definitely 5 days a week, but we're sort of off season. We're gonna sort of maybe settle into this 3 days a week thing, and then we'll sort of see where it goes from there, I think.
Well, it doesn't matter. You're always you're on our show 1 day a week, but you're in our hearts 5, Wes.
Oh.
That's my Valentine's wish to you. Okay. There you go.
Did you send me some candy too? I mean,
no.
Amazon's got it.
That's Darren's department. Darren's the candy man. Dude's always got chocolate floating around or something like that.
I don't have my good chocolate now.
No. Hey, brother, we'll let you run on that note. Good to hear from you, and we look forward to catching up again next week.
All right, thanks, Aljo. Have a good one.
Yes, sir. There you go, Wes Mitchell with Gamecock Central. Time for a timeout. The national anthem up next. We'll get back into some hoops. We got Mike Uva still to come. Got some more football to discuss as well. College baseball starts this week. A jam-packed final hour right here on the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. What's up, everyone? JB here. Want to tell you about my friends at McFadden Pest Control, as we do every day on our program. I love these guys. They've been in business over 40 years, and they treat our family like they've only been around for 4 days. Always doing their best work, trying to earn our business, although they know that they'll always have it. Heath and the guys take care of our quarterly, our mosquitoes, termite bonds, anything we can get them to do, they do it. They're the best. They're friends. Heath even often texts me and just asks to see how my family's doing. It's amazing. I can't say enough about McFadden Pest Control. Switch to them. You'll never have anyone else protect your home. McFaddenPestControl.com, McFaddenPestControl.com here in the Low Country.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risk their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
Bourbon and whiskey drinkers of Charleston. Paddock and Whiskey on James Island and the Terrace Shopping Center on Maybank is your home for the finest and rarest bourbon and whiskey drinks in the Low Country. This is where I hang out. Go meet my friends Reed and Chris and try one of their exclusive barrel pick bourbons. They have the largest private barrel collection in the state, and let their knowledgeable staff recommend your next pour. PaddockandWhiskey.com. Let not your heart be troubled. Paddock and Whiskey is here for your next double. We're all friends around here. Paddock and Whiskey, proud partners of the JB and Goldwater Show.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the Links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Low Country. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit StonoFerryGolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. StonoFerryGolf.com.
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Clamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the national anthem.
live, loud, and online.
All right, final hour on this Monday afternoon. Welcome back to JB and Goldwater Show, protected by McFadden Pest Control. Make sure you've downloaded the JB and Goldwater app. It's free. You can watch and listen to our program daily from there. Make sure that's in your phone, or you can head to jbandgoldwatershow.com. Across all social media platforms, at JB and Goldwater, individually at Sports Media JB, and at Darren Goldwater. 843-321-8893 is our phone number. Also our text line, and it is open and available. Use it if you'd like to. We'd love to have you be a part of our program. Coming up in about 25 minutes, Mike Yuva with Watch Fox up in Columbia. He's going to hop in as well. Speaking of McFadden Pest Control, in business for over 40 years. That's over 4 decades. They've been doing business with my family for over 3 years, and they've been protecting us from termites, mosquitoes, and the household pests, quarterly pest control, everything available there. McFaddenPestControl.com, locally owned and operated. I say this again, locally owned and operated. Not one of those big wigs where you call somebody because you got roaches coming out of every which way and the other, and then they say, well, we're in Cleveland, Ohio, at our call center. Let me transfer you. And then you're on hold for 20 minutes. Nah, you're not going to deal with all that. When you call over there, they're going to pick up the phone. They're going to know who you are. They're going to know where you live. They're going to know what your problems are. They're going to help you fix them quickly. McFaddenPestControl.com for Heath Gunther and his team. And by the way, he's got a guy that works for him named Terrell, but we call him Turtle. Why wouldn't you want to hire somebody named Turtle to come take care of your pests?
Did you watch Entourage?
I did watch Entourage.
Yeah,
Turtle from Entourage.
Yeah, that's where I'm going with that.
Yeah, people tell me
we need the show back.
People tell me that I look like Jeremy Piven.
Really?
I get that all the time. If you're, I'd say if you're a little bit, I when I say older, I hope the ladies don't get offended by this at all. But I mean, like, you know, not the Entourage era, like 20s, 30s, maybe around 40. I'd say older than that.
Right. I mean, I'm 41. I'd say I'm pretty much the middle of the Entourage era.
Okay. All right.
It was hot when I was in the realm of watching it.
So like our group, Entourage, Jeremy Piven. The older group, the ladies tell me, you look like a young Billy Joel. Whatever. It all works for me.
Interesting.
Both very succcel, fine men.
Yes.
In life.
There you go.
There you go. I'll take it. All right. Did you stay up at all to watch the end of Daytona?
God, no.
Oh, I didn't either. I don't know anybody that did. I mean, you know, and like, look, so what a finish, and you know, the crash, and there's so much drama in NASCAR, right? I mean, there's so much drama in NASCAR, and really neat to see Michael McDowell win this thing, because I mean, he came way off the radar. I know Bowman was on the pole, and there were so many. I mean, I'm not even going to sit here and try to act like I'm some big NASCAR guru or anything like that. That's not the point of this. My conversation on this comes from a little bit of a different angle, which is like, we wonder what and they've been trying for years to like revitalize the sport of NASCAR.
Yeah.
But like, it is hard when you can't get it over with in about 10 hours in the biggest event of the year. Like, it's difficult.
But there's no option.
No, there's nothing you can do.
Right.
You know?
I mean, even if you preemptively postpone the thing, you still don't want to postpone the thing into another day.
Not in a Monday.
Right. Exactly.
I mean,
there's nothing you can do.
There's nothing you can, like, look, when it comes to postponements. So I know, you know how they've shifted some of the bigger races to Saturdays, which is great. You know, they're trying to tap into that and, you know, promote these NASCAR now COVID safe parties and things like that, which is great. And you know what, if it goes over, okay, it goes over into Sunday. That's fine. And the hardcore NASCAR folks are watching. I get it. They're always going to watch. We're going to watch everything.
Right.
I get it. You and I have a mutual friend, a big NASCAR fan. He was probably up late last night, deep in the sauce watching this stuff. But I mean, like, I just can't do it. I mean, when I was a kid, I loved to watch Ernie Irvan run around with my dad. That was my dad's guy, Ernie Irvan, and that was fun. But like, the world is, I mean, people don't even watch 9 innings of baseball anymore. Like, they're trying to find a way to put a pitch clock in baseball. No, they're trying to find a way to literally speed up everything. And I'm like, hey man, you know, life's too short to speed up everything we do. Why don't we slow it down and enjoy ourselves? Like, I'd go sit and watch 18 innings of baseball and not move. I'm fine.
I'd be fine with that.
I'm fine with it. But, you know, with everything they try to speed up, you know, NASCAR like you said, there's only so much you can do, and when Daytona runs until 2 a.m, it negatively affects the sport. But
I enjoyed. I mean, it was on. Like I said yesterday, we went like a Valentine's Day lunch at Dog and Duck, so it's on, and I saw it before it then got delayed, however long it was, and hours delayed. People watch it for some of the wrecks. There were certainly a bunch of fiery wrecks. Okay, but then that delay was just. I think the best story that came out of it was what happened during the delay. Ross Chastain, who's sponsored by McDonald's, hits up a drive-through and buys his entire crew McDonald's. He's still in his entire fire suit. And if you're watching, we've got a picture of it right here, right through the McDonald's drive-through, bringing McDonald's back to his entire team. And apparently this happened once before or also yesterday. A different driver hit up a Panda Express, but I don't know if that driver was sponsored by Panda Express.
So he went to McDonald's and got burgers for everybody.
I don't know. He may have gotten McNuggets. I don't know. But he went to McDonald's and fed his entire crew.
Wow. Well, if he got burgers for everybody, he'd fall in line with golf, because yesterday Daniel Berger sunk an eagle on 18 to win at Pebble Beach. By the way, that got him to 18 under. And he won $1.4 million by way of doing that. You like that transition?
I did. It was very smooth.
Pretty smooth there, right? Yeah, big win certainly for Daniel Berger. So congratulations to him. He was 3 shots ahead of probably the most popular name that was at the top of the leaderboard, Jordan Spieth, alongside Patrick Cantlay. But he was also 2 shots ahead of, I think, one of maybe the more awesome names now in the sport and across all sports, Maverick McNeely. 16 under. I don't know where this dude, I never heard of him until I cut it on. I said, who the hell is Maverick McNeely? But this guy is sweet.
I thought you were going to go with Basha.
Nah.
Because I looked at this kid who's a lefty, a great move. And I text Scott Glaze. I said, who is this kid? Used to be the number 1 ranked junior in the world, skipped college to go pro. He's only 19 years old. Is the Basha kid who you saw rising up the leaderboard and then fading. I want to see, as a fan of the game, I want to see Spieth recapture that killer instinct. That's all he's missing right now. He talked about it going into the final round, just being comfortable with the nerves of being in the lead and around the lead. And for the second straight week, it didn't work out for him. But the fact that he is there on back-to-back weeks, it tells you it's going in the right direction for Spieth. Now it's just, can you close the door? Can you close the deal? I'll also point out Scott Glaze. He's back to his winning ways. I don't remember exactly who his official pick was. It could have been Cantlay, but it was the 4 guys he talked about. 2 of them that he was most comfortable with were Cantlay and Berger. Not only did Berger win, but Cantlay was right there until the end.
Yeah.
So Glaze was all over it again.
Yeah, Scott, I don't know. He's pretty good at what he does. There's no doubt about that. He's picked a bunch of winners around here.
He has.
No question. By the way, South Carolina's Matthew Neesmith continues to play well. He was 9 under. In the tournament, which was a tie for 16th, but he continues to play well. And here in the state of South Carolina, we have kind of kept our eyes on him over the last couple of weeks. And with golf heating up, we'll continue to do so, certainly. But this is kind of the Pro-Am this weekend, which, didn't have amateurs.
No. There were 4. I thought there were none, but there were actually 4. And Bill Murray was one of the 4. There were 4 guys who were out there, playing, but only 4.
Well, I don't understand what their qualifications were. Does anybody know the answer to that question?
They probably just wanted to keep some of the spirit of the tournament alive.
Yeah. Well, Bill Murray's the way to do that.
Yes.
That kind of heats up the next few weeks of golf now, because we're rolling right along into the Players and then into the Masters coming up in April. So certainly looking
great tournament this weekend too at Riviera. So they're just sliding down from San Francisco down to LA. I was at
Genesis.
Yep, I was at the Genesis two years ago. I happened to be out there staying with my sister. I was doing a basketball game out there, and just happened to be the weekend of the Genesis. My sister lives like 2 miles from the course. We're like, let's get tickets. So we went out and we saw Tiger, we saw Spieth, we saw all the big name guys. It's a gorgeous course.
Yeah,
gorgeous.
Well, they're all nice out there.
Yeah.
Whit Merrifield has played Pebble, and I talked to Whit about that a couple of years ago. I saw him in Columbia, and he goes out there every year for like a guy's trip or something.
Nice.
And he said, dude, you just can't even fathom.
No,
it's something spectacular. All right, we got some new hoops polls out to pass along to you. We'll start on the men's side of things. Nothing has changed in the top four. Gonzaga, Baylor. So interesting, though, at 3 and 4. It's just like football. Michigan at 3, Ohio State at 4. Not really. Michigan hasn't been in the top 4 in a while in college football, but that rivalry is alive and well, certainly in the Big Ten. Illinois, also in the Big Ten. They're at 5, so the Big Ten is checking in 3, 4, and 5 to round out the top 5. The rest of the top 10 looks like this. Houston at 6, Virginia at 7, up 2 spots from 9 last week. How about Alabama? They're all the way up to 8 from 11. Last week, they were the second highest ranked SEC team behind Missouri, and we're about to tell you what happened to them here in a moment. Oklahoma at 9, Villanova at 10. Some of the notables like Missouri lost twice last week, so they dropped from 10 to 20. Tennessee, they dropped from 16 to 19, and there are some newbies into the top 25, although one of them is not new to the top 25 at all. Just recently, though, Kansas back in there at 23. Hey. And then no shocker, Arkansas, who's playing exceptionally well. They're at 24. San Diego State is checked in at number 25 this week as well. So a couple of the notables to pass along there. On the men's side of things, on the ladies' side of things, UConn, the new number 1, that was very short-lived for South Carolina. It was about 10 hours long, as a matter of fact.
Well, they lasted an entire week.
Well, it's true.
They were technically still number 1 until about a couple minutes ago.
Yeah, we all knew they weren't number 1 when they got beat by the Huskies last Monday night, a week ago today, but Carolina didn't fall far, only to number 2 this week. Now, here's what they beat LSU this weekend.
Yep.
Didn't really play particularly well in doing so. The Tigers have given them some trouble in both games this year. They got through them. Listen to the rest of the top 5 here. Louisville's at 3. NC State's at 4. Carolina already lost to NC State. A&M's at 5. South Carolina, they've got some things to get through over the next couple of weeks. If they can, they'll see A&M undefeated at the end of the regular season in College Station in what could be a top 5 matchup, if not maybe, Darren, higher than that.
And potentially with a top seed on the line as well, a number 1 seed. I think it's good for the Gamecocks. I think it's very good for them, in fact, because I think we all came into the year assuming that Dawn Staley's group would be as dominant as we expected them to be, but they haven't been. They're obviously one of the top 2-3 teams in the country. They are dominant at times. They have major flaws, but dominant at times. I think it benefits them to be pushed late in the year. I draw on a lot of the Nationals experiences that I went through. The Nationals kept going to the playoffs, but they had everything clinched weeks in advance. They get to the playoffs and they fall flat on their face. 2 years ago, squeak their way in, have to play their best ball at the end of the year, have to win a wild card game. They're on point at the end of the year. They're forced to keep that level up. I think it's a good thing for teams to be forced to play their best at the end.
Well, A&M certainly is hoping to do so. They're 19-1. All right. And they beat Tennessee this weekend by 10. And South Carolina has Tennessee this week on Thursday night. And they've got to take the trip to Knoxville. That is a tricky game. Carolina can't lose that game, because if they lose that game, they'll drop to 12-1. A&M would be 10-1. And now Carolina's a game and a half ahead of A&M because they've played more games. They haven't lost one. But if you lose that, you are the A&M game is essentially it is must win. It is a must win because that would give A&M 2 losses, and South Carolina would still have 1. But that's not the only difficult. They got Kentucky after that, who's number 20 in the country. Ole Miss, they should be fine with. But that A&M game, that could be the game of the year. Probably will be the game of the year in the SEC. And right now, those two teams are combined 36-3. 12-0 Carolina, 10-1 A&M in the SEC. So we'll keep our eyes certainly on it. But you're going to want that overall. Like you said, Carolina's not just going for winning the SEC championship. They're trying to get a number 1 overall seed. And remember, everybody's going to be in San Antonio, but you want the number 1 overall seed if you can get it.
Yeah, even if you're the 4th number 1. It's the same as the men's side. It's getting graded on what it's called an S curve. I'm not quite sure what the background of the S is in that, but what it means is that it doesn't matter about region. So it's been both tournaments, men and women, have focused on regions as well as seeds. That's not the case this year. There are those stipulations of how many times you can play a team in your own league or when you can. So like a Power 5 league can't have teams play each other prior to the Sweet 16. If you've already played 3 times, like Duke UNC sometimes play twice, and then in the ACC, they can't meet until the Elite 8. So there are other rules that will affect seeding, but not nearly like the regional stuff.
Certainly. 1:20 on a Monday afternoon. Real quick, we should get some more bracketology today from Joe Lenardi.
Mm-hmm.
The latest bracketology that he has came out on Friday. He continues daily to add notes, but he puts out the official bracket, I think, every 3 or 4 days. Had Clemson in there at an 8 seed in Region 3 facing 9th seeded BYU. That would also be in the same region as top seeded Michigan and 2nd seeded Alabama. But we have to keep our eyes on what happens around them. So a couple of things have happened in front of them. Like Missouri had a tough week, and Missouri was a 5 seed last week, according to Lenardi, but a Region 4. These things will be so much more fluid this year because the entire tournament is being played in Indianapolis. So it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's not like you're going to have to travel or anything like that. I mean, everybody's traveling to the same exact spot. Now, they'll try to evenly match the teams, but travel concerns and regions and stuff like that, that's not even going to be a part of it.
No, they will do their best for the best number 1 to match up with the worst 16.
Yeah.
And then all the way down the line like that. So it doesn't matter the region necessarily. It's just going to matter who is in front of you and then matchups.
Yeah.
And that'll be it. And then staying healthy and COVID free.
Yeah. Which right now
that'll be an important thing.
Clemson is not. They're on hiatus once again because of COVID. Again, if you missed that news, their game against Notre Dame on Wednesday has been postponed, but they're still scheduled to play Pittsburgh on the road this weekend. So we'll have to see if that comes to fruition or not. Lenardi also has 13th seeded Winthrop in there still, facing 4th seeded Wisconsin in region number 2, which would be headlined by top seeded Baylor and 2nd seeded Illinois at this point in time. So we will continue to monitor that. Over the last couple of weeks, the Wofford-Furman projections from a lot of different analysts have fallen flat because ETSU, Greensboro, teams like that have played better in the SoCon. So we just kind of have to see.
The leagues that are doing these back-to-backs or anything close to them, it's wild, the swings that are happening. I mean, college destroys Elon. Elon comes back and beats him. Loyola, in what was, I don't know if you were paying attention to it, probably the biggest series of the weekend in college hoops.
Yeah.
Loyola hammers Drake.
Right? Yeah.
And then Drake turns around and beats him without their leading scorer and rebounder, who's out till at least the NCAA tournament. But the fact that they split benefits both teams. It benefits the Valley because both of them right now are projected to be in.
Yes.
The split actually helps both of them.
It does. And Loyola is still ranked, by the way, at 22 this week. Drake just outside of the top 25. I think they received like 22 votes. So I think that puts them at like 31 or somewhere in there. But you're right. We, at the beginning of last week, it was beginning of last week. It was kind of an off the radar game. We knew it was coming. Remember, we kind of mentioned that here.
Yep.
And that series played this weekend, series in basketball, which is just.
And right. And it's the same thing with Furman and Wofford and Chattanooga. Throw them in. I mean, Furman blasted ETSU the first time they played, and then they turned right around and ETSU beat them.
Yeah.
It's happening all across the country. Anywhere that's playing back-to-backs or every 2 and 3 days, something like that. Just wild swings.
The scrutiny that's going to come with this year's selection process is going to be just get ready, polarizing. It is coming. By the way, also a 16-team NIT has been announced. So if you don't make the field of 68, a 16-team NIT will be played this year in college basketball. At least that's the plan as of now. And unfortunately, Carolina fans are going, not going to make that one either at this point in time. But we'll have to see kind of how that unfolds in the future as well. Again, college baseball is set to crank up this week. Teams all across the state of South Carolina and across the country will get going. There's one team in the state of South Carolina ranked in the preseason top 25, and that is the Gamecocks. And their first pitch will be thrown at 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon up at Founders Park in Columbia. But remember, series being played everywhere. here locally as well. The Citadel, the College of Charleston, CSU, all on the diamond. We have been speaking with these head coaches over the last couple of weeks, scheduled to speak at some point in time this week with Mark Kingston as well, hoping for tomorrow. And then as we roll into college baseball later on in the week, we've got much more planned for you on that front as well. But certainly excited to get the boys on the diamond rolled back out there. They have not played since last March, which is just unbelievable. Later on today or sometime tomorrow morning, we'll be dropping our college baseball primer, kind of get you in the mood, get you ready. And we will look entirely at the state of South Carolina, not just at the major programs like the Gamecocks and Clemson and Coastal and the college and things like that. We have a bunch of notes and news and nuggets to plug along in there as well at many of the levels. Of course, JUCO is already playing. They've already started places like North Greenville and things like that. But we'll certainly pass along much of that information in that as well. That is part of our season ticket package if you are a season ticket holder to the JB and Goldwater show. Also, again, if you have missed it or you're just joining the conversation, the news of the day, Gus Malzahn taking the head coaching position down at Central Florida. Remains to be seen what his staff will look like. We spoke with Wes Mitchell a little while ago, and he really liked Travis Williams. He said he was from Columbia, and I had forgotten about that. He is from Columbia and went to play at Auburn, I think 01 to 04 or 05. I think he was at Auburn. So 04, 05, 4 or 5 year stint in there. And he had been on staff there. Most recently took the linebackers job at Miami because he was not retained on the Plains, even though he's a favorite son of Auburn football. Brian Hartson didn't keep him. But his name mentioned earlier by Cole Kubelik to maybe be the defensive coordinator at Central Florida, which I guess if you are ready to be a DC, that's a great get. That's a great start going there as opposed to jumping into that role somewhere in a major power league or something like that. We'll have to see Kevin Steele. Yeah, there's just a bunch of options out there. But,
again, chance to go have success. I mean, that's what you want as an assistant coach. You want to know that you're going to a place where your name can continue to raise its value, raise its stock. That's probably the most important thing for an assistant coach that's on your mind. Can I keep my progression going if I take this gig?
I haven't had a chance to take a peek at the Knights 2021 schedule. Okay, they haven't officially released it yet. Okay. But they do have Louisville on the schedule on September the 17th on the road at Louisville. So the rest of the schedule isn't out yet. I was just curious.
They typically have a one or two decent non-conference games. Oh, yeah. So obviously that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see what else unfolds with that. But all right, we do need to hit a quick break. When we return, Mike Uva with Watch Fox up in Columbia. He's a celebrity now, so in all of his busy time, he's found some downtime to enjoy some time with us. Frank Martin is going to meet with the media in about 30 minutes as well. Mike will be on that call. I'm going to try to jump on that call on the way home and just knock my video off.
Yeah.
But it has been a rough go for Carolina basketball. We're going to touch on that with Mike and much, much more. Hang tight. The JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. We'll be right back.
Is your old car really scary? Does it look dreadful or smell awful? Don't be frightened. There's never been a better time to trade in your spooky old car. Stokes Volkswagen just received a new shipment of the VW Atlas and VW Crossport. But here's what makes that even sweeter. Every new Atlas and Crossport is $3,000 off MSRP. Plus, every 2020 Volkswagen is available with 0% financing. That's right. You get both the huge discount and 0% financing. So if you want to play trick or treat at other dealerships, that's okay. Come see us at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or visit stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Plus tax tag includes $399.50 closing fee. Offer subject to lender approval. Expires month end.
What's up, everyone? JB here. Want to tell you about my friends at McFadden Pest Control, as we do every day on our program. I love these guys. They've been in business over 40 years, and they treat our family like they've only been around for 4 days. Always doing their best work, trying to earn our business, although they know that they'll always have it. Heath and the guys take care of our quarterly, our mosquitoes, termite bonds, anything we can get them to do, they do it. They're the best. They're friends. Heath even often texts me and just asks to see how my family's doing. It's amazing. I can't say enough about McFadden Pest Control. Switch to them. You'll never have anyone else protect your home. McFaddenPestControl.com, McFaddenPestControl.com here in the Low Country.
Family Bingo Night is back. All 3 Dog and Duck locations. Every Monday from 6 to 8 is the perfect time to bring the kids, have dinner, and play bingo. They've upped the prizes with retail store gift cards, gas cards, in-house cash cards, and kid-friendly gift cards like Nintendo, pizza, App Store, and more. Thanks for supporting local businesses like the Dog and Duck in Bell Hall, Park West, and on Clements Ferry Road.
What's up, everybody? This is South Carolina singer-songwriter Patrick Davis, and I might live in Nashville, Tennessee now, but guess what?
Hey, buddy, I'm not paying you to hear your thoughts on life. I'm paying you to sing.
Well, I have a microphone, and you don't.
So you will listen to every damn word I have to say! You are the worst wedding singer in the world, buddy.
Sir, one more outburst, I will strangle you with my microphone wire. You understand me?
You were listening to my friends JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it
1:30. Welcome back. The JB and Goldwater Show. Protected by McFadden Pest Control. McFaddenPestControl.com. Before we jump Mike in here, let me. This comes off just kind of snooty. And
anytime you start like this, I'm just like, oh man, where are we going?
I just look, man, when things are incorrect, I just like to correct them. And I know that I've been incorrect and people correct me, and I'm cool with that. But yesterday morning, and I saw this floating around late last night. I didn't see it until last night. There was this article out on Saturday Down South.
Oh, yeah.
And talking about a report. Urban Meyer expected to hire a key staffer away from South Carolina, and they were referencing Drew Hughes. So if any of you missed this and you saw this report circulating around the internet, let me go ahead and clarify, because I did tweet this out last night. I know that this article says this. This article is so wrong. South Carolina Drew Hughes hasn't been working for South Carolina for over a month. And he had left to take the same position at Texas with Steve Sarkisian. That didn't work out because of the investigations at Tennessee. They started looking into his background. He was at Tennessee before he came to South Carolina. Nothing directly tied to him, but just wanting to be cautious. So they didn't make an official hire on that. So he's been without a job for a while. Carolina on February the 2nd. All right. Yesterday was the 14th.
Yep.
12 days prior to that article being written, officially announced Taylor Edwards as their director of player personnel. So Urban Meyer did not hire a key staffer away from South Carolina. That report was incorrect. Also, CBS Sports today is grading all of the college football hires, and they noted that it is a risky move for South Carolina to go with a coordinator. Shane Beamer was not a coordinator.
No, the risky move would be to go with the guy who wasn't a coordinator.
You can frame
that would be risky.
Exactly.
Right?
You can frame it however you want to. He was the assistant head coach to Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma. So I wanted to get a couple of those things out there. Those were incorrect reports. Mike Yuva does not report incorrectly, and he joins us now at 1:33 in the afternoon. What's up, man?
Oh, that's wrong. High school basketball just the week. I said the great Kerry Rich went to Eau Claire, and I don't know why I said that. I confused the school that he went to, and I got some heat on air, and rightfully so. I mean, we've been down for 4.5 years, and I have the relationship that I do with the captain. I should not get that confused. So, even I make mistakes.
Even I.
Even Mr. Bo Honglace himself makes a mistake, huh? Nice commercial, by the way.
Oh, it's nice, man. I mean, my dad hasn't called me an idiot since, so I think, he's starting to come around on it. So, that's kind of where we are right now.
Yeah. Well, look, they did a nice job. They promoted this thing. It's taken off like wildfire. You should be very proud of yourself. I can't imagine we all see the social media interaction that you have with fans, but personally, I can only imagine how often your phone is going off every day from people you just know or whatever, just with text messages, picture messages, FUs and beyond, right?
I'll tell you what, I'm hearing from people that I haven't heard from since 6th grade, which is the funniest thing. And especially being from up north, they have no idea what Bojangles is. So they just see it and they're like, oh, that's cool. But it's pretty cool to just, hear from people I haven't talked to in a long time. One of the cooler things, though, I guess cool or weird, maybe disappointing, maybe in regards to my reporting, I guess it's not as good. I'm having more people come up to me when I'm out about this biscuit than what I do at Watch Fox. So, like I said, maybe that's not a bad thing because we can kind of parlay that into, watch Fox now or follow me on Twitter. Not that I've said either of those things, but yeah, I'm kind of like the biscuit boy, I guess, right now.
So Darren probably remembers this, and I think I sent you this not too long ago. For those who have eaten Bojangles for a lifetime, like I have, they used to have a tagline in their commercials that was, I'm going to sing this: "Gotta want to need to get a have a Bojangles."
Yes.
Hopefully everybody remembers that. And I know it's turned into it's bow time because it's shorter and crisper and the message gets across. But with the emergence of the Uva, we could change that, and it could be gotta want to need to get a have a Mike Uva.
Oh God.
Yes,
you did not know what you were getting into, did you? Here.
Yes, no.
Look, see, I don't hate it, but I know if I agree and say that I like it, it's going to come off probably the wrong way. So I'll let the people that make the big bucks decide that. But I've just enjoyed this, man. I mean, it really is. It's just wild. I mean, this happened a month ago, and I mean, they say Columbia is the city of dreams. So this is where it all started. Columbia, South Carolina, the official state or home of the Uva biscuit. That's where it all started.
That's right. Some guy is going to send me a mean message at some point in time in the next day or two that says, "Dude, I've been singing that stupid song in my head for the last 24 hours."
Yeah, and if it's me,
I'm telling you, it just rolls, man. I don't know why they did away with that. All right, Mike, let's get to some hoops. Frank's going to meet with the media in a little bit. We all know what's going on here, and look, you understand what I say when I'm saying this, and I know that a lot of fans will disagree with our conversation, and rightfully so. I get it, because they look at this and they say, I'm in it for the wins and losses, not for how good of a guy you are. But you and I both know that this is a difficult conversation because we've interacted with Frank. People who've just spoken with him one time can tell you as much as somebody who speaks with him every day that Frank Martin is a good man. He's a hell of a basketball coach, but he is he's a great human. So there's a human aspect to this conversation when we have it, because it hurts to have, because we all want a piece of Frank Martin if we can get one, because I just personally feel like he makes you better when you talk to him. He is just a great guy who, again, from a basketball standpoint, he's proven he can coach. He is a hell of a coach, but it's not working. Right now, it's not working. And they're really, really, really struggling. I'm going to look, I know you don't specifically know the answer to this question because you're not in Frank Martin's head, but does it seem to you like Frank Martin, like basketball is number one on the priority list when he's coaching games right now? Does it appear that way?
I don't think basketball is number one right now, and I think he's alluded to that before. There's just so much going on in the world right now. How can you make it number one? How can you expect a man that not only went through COVID once, but went through COVID twice and is literally losing his hair and eyebrows? I mean, I had a chance to see Frank twice last week, from his appearance down at Home Team Barbecue when he does Carolina calls, and I had a chance to run into him another time the next night when he was out for dinner. And, I mean, you could just tell. I mean, it is just taking a toll on him. It's taking a beating, and he's doing everything he can to be able to keep this team together. Because, you look back to maybe, 4 weeks ago, Frank mentioned that when he was coming back from that second time to come back from COVID, if he had to rate how he felt health-wise, he would grade himself from a 6 on a 1 to 10 scale. And that if it wasn't for the fact that he felt like he had an obligation to diversity into this team, something I've mentioned on this show in the past, that he would have opted out. So the reason I bring that up is because, number one, Frank realizes how important he is to this team. But number two, it goes into what we heard after this game this past weekend from the players and even Coach Martin. Things that I was hearing from people that were close to the program, which was this team is not playing like a team. They're playing as individuals, not playing as a collected group. And I know people are sick and tired of hearing about COVID, but I think you have to look back to the beginning of the year. Because whether you're building a house, whether you're building a team, it doesn't matter. You have to have a strong foundation. And I think, unfortunately for South Carolina, they weren't able to build that foundation. Yes, they had players back from last year, but you know what? Look at USC women's basketball. They have a lot of players back from last year too. It doesn't mean that it's going to be the same. One season to another, things are different. Things are different. That's just the reality of it. You have different pieces there. You have Seventh Woods. You have guys that are still trying to gel and be able to build a rapport together. They lost out on that opportunity at the beginning of the year, and now we're seeing that and how that has had an impact on this team in an SEC play, because they show sparks of how good they can be, but it's not consistent because no one wants to play the team right now.
I think the question that needs to be asked at this point in time, as it pertains to the entire situation with Carolina men's basketball, Mike, is apathy. Has apathy set in? And we just went through a football season in Columbia where it did, and we remember. I think many can remember specifically probably the Texas A&M game, where it just felt like all hope was lost for the future of the program under the leadership of Will Muschamp. Now, I say that in understanding that these are two entirely different situations. These are two entirely different sports, and these are two men who've had entirely different paths to get where they are at this point in time in their careers as leading a program at South Carolina. But how fearful should we be, in your opinion? I mean, you have your finger on the pulse of this fan base. You interact with them as much as you possibly can. How fearful should we be of apathy being the driving force behind a decision with the future of the men's basketball program?
I think you can't rule it out, just because when you look at football, I think a lot of us, especially outside, maybe even people on the inside, outside of maybe Ray Tanner or, President Caslin, I think a lot of people just expected, like, hey, look, it doesn't matter. I mean, Muschamp could go 0-10 this year. There's no way that in the middle of the pandemic they're going to get rid of a coach. They just don't have that money right now. And, of course, majority of that money, if not all of it, pretty much came from donors and people outside of the program. So USC didn't have to really pay all that money. But the point being is not a lot of us expected that. I think you have to look at it just because we've seen it happen once. And I think, in terms of looking at it from the fan perspective, I think anything in life, right? You do something once, it's easier to do it again. You go for one cookie. All right, maybe I'm going to go for another. Maybe not the greatest comparison. My point being is we saw what happened with one coach. You know what? Let's press the reset button on this one. Let's bring another coach in. It doesn't always work that way. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. And what I would say to that is this. I understand that there's a lot of Gamecock fans that are frustrated right now. My question is this. Do you feel like if you got rid of Frank Martin right now, okay, you got rid of Frank Martin today, are you closer to being able to succeed for next season? Or, how far away is that? How far away does that look? Or do you feel like you bring Frank back next season, you are closer to being able to attain your goals for next year? Because when you look at this team, yes, we don't know what's going to happen with A.J. Lawson. I mean, shoot, I hope people aren't in his ear right now saying you should go to the NBA, because the reality is, kid, you need to be able to get back here, right? I know there are a lot of people in Dozier's ear saying, oh, do this and that. It took him some time. He's doing very well now in the NBA, but there were a lot of people that said, hey, just go off, ride on that wave that you had with that Final Four run. I don't know what it looked like, because in terms of just how the team was assembled coming back the year after that Final Four team, it was bumpy. There's no question. But I think that, after what we saw, and I know Dozier might not ever admit it, and obviously things are working out for him right now, so why would you say it? But, if he had a chance to come back, I think that would have helped him be able to get drafted, and this could have been a little bit different. But like I said, things are going well for him. So I just think that you have to look at the big picture. And you have to realize that this year is unlike any other. And if you have an issue with doing that, do this. Go look at some of the most historic teams in college basketball. Go ask me, how's Duke doing? How's North Carolina doing? Go look at some of the best teams in college basketball history. How are they doing this year? All right, this isn't just the South Carolina thing. I understand it's easier to blame it on Frank Martin in terms of look at the big picture. Oh, 1-9, this and that. But look, it's happening across the landscape of college basketball with some pretty impressive big-time programs.
Mike, you've watched Fox in Columbia, and you bring up a great point. And again, I'm going to echo your comments that you mentioned at the top of the segment here as we got into this conversation. You understand, Darren understands, I understand. Anybody that's out there covering this team on a daily basis understands that people are frustrated and tired of hearing COVID as a, quote, excuse for the program. And so, I think what we're trying to do here is give a little bit more context to the conversation as opposed to just throwing out what would be deemed an excuse to many who follow along with what's going on with South Carolina basketball. But Mike, what's going on right now, it kind of defies logic under Frank Martin, because we've all known, even back to his tenure at Kansas State, when he has an experienced roster, when he has guys who have been together for multiple seasons, those are his best teams, clearly. I mean, that was the 2017 team, no doubt about it. Teams that have a bunch, it doesn't have to be a ton of talent returning. It has to be older guys, experienced guys who know the Frank Martin system, which starts with defense, moves itself into transition offense, and they do all of that with toughness. But this conversation defies logic because this team is very experienced. They do have a bunch of returners, and they're not getting it done. And so people, when they look out and they see that, they question, well, has he just lost it? Is it the end of the road? Can he? And Wes Mitchell mentioned earlier, look, he hasn't recruited the state of South Carolina particularly well. These stars have left and gone other places, and now that's adding to the conversation. So it's piling up with a bunch of different points and opinions, and it's creating this, okay, we just need to move on and find the next guy. But if, when you consider all that, I do think it's worthy to make sure that COVID and all of these other off-field, we still don't know the whole story. We don't know what other guys have been dealing with. We don't know. And I think that's why at the end of the year, this conversation doesn't need to be, we're having it, but it shouldn't be had. It should be had at the end of the year.
Yeah, and look, I'm not saying that people should not be frustrated. You have every right to. There's a lot of people that pay a lot of money that support this program. There's a lot of people that supported Frank Martin. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be upset by it. All I'm saying is that this isn't just a singular person fault here. And it's not even, if you want to put COVID to the side, put COVID to the side a little bit, because this isn't all COVID. South Carolina has been able to practice and play consistently in terms of being able to get in some type of rhythm. I'm not saying they're playing consistently well, but they've been able to have some type of rhythm, something that they lacked at the beginning of the year just because of COVID. So why aren't they playing as well right now these last couple of weeks? They've kind of gone on a roller coaster. You have every right to be upset like that. And the head coach should take the blame. That's what it always comes back to. But with that being said, and I know this is the part that I think college fans have a hard time. I'm not saying everyone, but most of them. At least that's the vibe I've got since I've been down here. They don't want to blame the kids. They don't want to blame the kids. It's okay to blame the kids. I'm not saying go on a message board and start bashing someone and then, saying something about their family and doing all that. But it's okay to say that A.J. Lawson has not been consistent when he goes out there, that he's able to go off some nights, but sometimes he just can't score, that Jermaine Couisnard has been struggling shooting, that Justin Manaya just has not been the same type of player from a scoring standpoint since his thumb injury a year ago. It's okay to say those things. People aren't stupid. We can see it with our eyes. And I think what people are having a tough time realizing or trying to, I don't know, to be able to make themselves feel better is, I don't want to blame the players. I just want to blame Frank, because it goes back to my argument. It supports my point. Well, that falls back on the coach. Couisnard was out there shooting on his own after a game a week ago. I mean, is Frank supposed to go out there and literally put the ball in the hoop and say, good job, Johnny? I mean, what is he supposed to do? I mean, he can only do so much. These are guys that were talented high school players that came here and shot the ball very well. We've seen that with Lawson. We've seen that with Manaya. We've seen that with Couisnard. Why aren't they doing it this year? I mean, is it Frank's fault that they can't put the basket in the hoop? I mean, what is he supposed to do? Because people say, oh, he's got to get better. He's got to get better shooters. It looks pretty good last year. Why can't they make baskets this year?
Well, let me follow up on that point. All right, not everybody, but a large group of people out there are clamoring and beating the doors down for name, image, and likeness, right? Yeah. These players should be able to take advantage of their name, image, and likeness. These schools are taking advantage of these players. They're profiting off of them. And these guys, we can say they're college athletes all they want. They're professional athletes. Well, you know what? Yeah. Professional athletes get criticized more than the coaches do in professional sports. As a matter of fact, it is very rare that a professional coach receives any heat anywhere close to what the stars of the team receive. And I'm not saying that all of a sudden everybody should just run out to Twitter, fire up their fingers, get on their message boards, and start talking trash about players. But I'm agreeing with your point to the fact that, look, you want to hold coaches accountable, I'm all fine with that. They all need to be held accountable, no doubt. But players need to be held accountable as well. And if we're going to sit here and tell everybody that these are professional athletes and they deserve money for their image and likeness and this, that, and the other, then guess what? They deserve to be criticized like it as well.
Yeah, and look, and there's other factors that have gone into this too. And like I said, this isn't Mr. I'm holding a sign up, oh, Mike's just a Frank Martin guy, blah, blah, blah. He's going to protect him till the day dies, this and that. When Frank's in the wrong, I'll be the first one to tell you. I mean, you can have an opinion and be able to do your job. I mean, I had a chance to go cover the World Series in Boston. You think I was wearing some Red Sox underwear underneath? No. I mean, you can be able to separate the two. I know it's tough for some people to realize that because a lot of people who grew up in this area, it's very tough to separate. I understand that, but you don't have to do a reporter's job right now. And I'm an outsider, so I have no allegiances to either, school in terms of Clemson, South Carolina, and you could even throw the smaller schools in there. But my point being is that what do you want? Really, what more do you want? I mean, Alonzo Frank, he has an illness right now that we're just not aware of, or a health condition, that we're not aware of. I mean, is that Frank's fault too? I mean, really? I mean, there's things that sometimes you just can't control. This year has been unlike any other year before. So look, you're upset, be upset. I'm not saying not to be upset, but look around. Really, is this all Frank's fault? Is it Frank's fault that AJ Lawson has gone out there sometimes and he can't score a point in the first half, or Justin Minaya is only scoring 4 points? He's doing a great job rebounding. I mean, really, look at the big picture. This isn't just a coach thing. Look at the assistant coaches. They have great assistant coaches. I mean, what is the issue? You know what the issue is? They're not playing as a team. They're not playing. They're not in sync. And I think a large part of that has to go back to what I said at the very beginning. They didn't build a strong foundation because they just didn't have the opportunity to, because COVID threw a wrench into that.
They're going to have to get it going quickly. They've got Tennessee tomorrow night up in Knoxville before returning home against Missouri. Two ranked opponents on the schedule this week, the Vols and the Tigers. Mizzou will be in town on Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock on ESPN2. Tomorrow night's contest, by the way, televised on the SEC network. Mike, a couple minutes and we'll let you run here, brother. We do have college baseball starting on Friday. We've longed to hear it around here, but since the season ended prematurely last year in March, for the first time in a couple of years, Carolina finally gets back to Carolina baseball. There are expectations. Gamecocks ranked inside the top 20 in most polls. I personally pay most attention to the D1 baseball polls every year. I think that they do the best job in covering the sport, and they've got them right there at number 18 as we enter the season. I know you haven't been able to spend a ton of time just yet around Mark Kingston and Skylar Meade and the rest of those guys, but the time that you have spent, what is the confidence level that you feel coming out of Gamecock baseball as they're set to throw the first pitch at 4 p.m. at the end of the week?
They feel like this is one of the most talented groups that Mark Kingston has had since he has been head coach here at South Carolina. And I think there should be a lot of excitement going into this season. It's going to be a challenging season, obviously, because you go through a lot of unknowns. And that's just not something that South Carolina is facing. That's just something that every team, not just in the SEC, but every team in the country is facing. And we saw that with basketball. So there's sometimes things that you just don't know. You can't predict because there's just some things that are unpredictable. But with that all being said, knock on wood that South Carolina is able to stay healthy. They're able to be able to get into some type of rhythm earlier in the year. They have the talent to be a very successful team. They're going to go get battle tested out of conference, obviously, going down to Austin, playing a team like Texas. But this is a team that has some excitement. And with that all being said, all it takes is one weekday loss early in the year, and I'm sure people are going to start calling for Kingston head too, So, that's just kind of where we're at right now. So just, breathe. Baseball's a long season like basketball. It's not like football where it's, if you lose week one or, you lose the first two games, it's a long season. But I'm very excited what this team can do because I feel like they have the talent to be able to get back to the tournament this year.
Yeah, let me remind people of something. You're going to lose midweek games in baseball. It doesn't matter who you are. All right, it doesn't matter. Number one LSU, number one Florida, number one Vanderbilt. Doesn't matter. They all lose midweek games.
Yeah, if the teams are playing, they've got dudes too.
Oh my God,
I mean,
it happens
every year.
I know. I hear it every year, and it's not just South Carolina.
No.
South Carolina, Clemson, every fan base out there. Oh my
Vanderbilt,
God.
Vanderbilt might lose midweek game.
We got beat by East Tennessee State. We're horrible. Fire the coach. Like, dude, do you know anything about sport of baseball? Anything at all? Just name one thing that you know, and then that can make your comment a little bit more relevant. I'll say this. Look, for South Carolina fans, Mike, but they should be Carolina should expect to go out there and take care of Dayton this weekend. Dayton, by the way, they got some good arms on that team, but they should go out there and be fine. Then they got Winthrop. You mentioned the Texas. See, the Texas series doesn't scare me as much because Carolina. This is the SEC, dude. You got Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Arkansas, LSU. You name it every year. I mean, these places are
big name. You're used to that. You're used to it. It's another big name.
That's no big deal. But here's the thing: the Clemson series, and I know it's like, no kidding. All right. Well, they've lost 5 of the last 6 series against the Tigers. Okay, people are tired of it. And Monty, and God bless Monty. I've known Monty since I was 9 years old. I love the guy so much. We had him on the show on Friday. Clemson fans are ready to get out of a regional. They haven't gotten out of one with Monty. Carolina fans know that. And they're tired to see, this Clemson team can't even get out of a regional, and we can't beat them every year. That series is going to go so far for Mark Kingston if he can win that thing.
No question. And look, that is a series that we obviously know. It doesn't matter if it's football, basketball, tiddlywinks, baseball. I mean, like, honestly, you can name any sport or any activity. The fans want to see you win. And it's not just to be able to get ice cream at President Caslin's house, but you need to be able to win that series. And I think for Kingston, that would really go a long way with this fan base, because as we mentioned with football and basketball, a lot of people right now are ready just to hit the reset button. And we saw it with Muschamp. We're seeing it right now with some people with Frank Martin. What is that looking like with Kingston? And, you talk to people that are close with the program, it seems like, Kingston could be on thin ice if they're not able to get off to a hot start. So I think that series would go a long way, but I think outside of that, you still need to be able to just get these wins that you need to at the beginning of the year before you go into a very daunting and, always challenging SEC schedule.
Oh, no doubt about it, because when they get into the SEC, guess what, boys and girls? On the road at 4th-ranked Vanderbilt, at home against top-ranked Florida. That's how you start that sucker. And it's not going to be easy. And by the way, let me clarify something. In no way, I don't give a damn what anybody says. Joe Torre could be on this phone call, and I'd say the same thing. Mark Kingston has been here for 2 years, maybe 2 1/4. All right, there ain't nothing right now, nothing that leans any way towards Mark Kingston should be on some type of hot seat this year. Give me a break. This guy's a hell of a baseball coach. They got a good program, and this is the most difficult league in the country. Give them, they'll be fine. They'll be just fine. Real quick, Frank Martin's 2:00 press conference has been postponed.
Yep.
And we don't know why.
That's good.
But want to pass up.
I hate to hear that, but I mean, I can breathe a little bit now. That's good.
Frees up your next 3 minutes here.
Yeah. So that's been postponed. Emily's email here, just so you know, says an updated time will be sent when available. So certainly keep our eyes peeled on that. Mike, we'll let you run on that note, though. Go get yourself a biscuit or whatever you do in your off time.
I gotta say though, I had this hat here that I just wanted to throw on. Lovely, the old school logo of Assumption College, now Assumption University. So I just happened to be throwing this hat on today. I don't know why, but just thought I'd throw it on right now.
No, I know why, because it might be a transfer from Assumption University heading to Columbia, and I think Carlin's Platel is his name, correct?
Sweatshirt on too. I just happen to have both things on today. I mean, I don't know.
And the hair's perfect. He takes the hat off, and the hair's still perfect.
Man, this guy is changed Bojangles. He's now bringing the Northeast to the South by way of football players. This is just you're a phenomenon.
I'll say this though. I promise though that if Platel does commit to USC, and I think I put a tweet out about this last night, no money was exchanged in Bojangle bags to him. I promise that will not happen. You got my word, Shane.
Hey, look, man, I tweeted about that yesterday. I said Tennessee's dropping hundos in McDonald's bags. We're dropping Uvas in Bojangles bags.
That's right, with heart-shaped biscuits.
That's right. Hey, good stuff, man.
I know you guys are up against the clock, but I will. Just real quick, he's a talented kid. He had no business being at the D2 level. He's a guy that is long, lengthy, speedy. Likes to hit. If he does come to South Carolina, I think he has a chance to be able to make a big impact. Don't look at the D2 stuff. There's a guy that got drafted in the first round by Patriots a year ago who, by the way, this guy was a nominee for that same award that he won. Best small-time, small school college football player from a defensive small school player. So just keep that in mind. If he comes here, the kid's the real deal.
The Cliff Harris Award. I've interviewed Cliff, I don't know, 4 or 5 times.
Cliff Harris Award. Yeah. Okay. Wow. That's a great nugget there. Nobody would know better than you. That's great stuff. We'll jot that down and regurgitate that upon his commitment. We'll credit the source, though, of course.
Appreciate it.
Mike, have a wonderful day, man. Really good to talk to you, and we'll speak soon.
Appreciate you guys. You guys take care.
Always Mike Yuva with Watch Fox News up in Columbia. All right, that's it. It's all she wrote around here. We all know it's President's Day. It's also National Singles Awareness Day.
Singles awareness.
If you're single, be aware of that. If you know anybody up in the great state of Wisconsin, it is National Wisconsin Day, and it's also National Gumdrop Day.
Gumdrop.
So there you go. That's on the handy dandy national what day is it calendar. Thanks to Wes Mitchell from Gamecock Central. Thanks to Mike Yuva with Watch Fox as well. Thanks to all of you for watching and listening to our programs you do daily around here. Tomorrow is a huge day in the world of breakfast.
Oh.
It is a huge day.
Okay.
I just had a bunch of these yesterday.
Not omelets.
Nope.
Omelets are where breakfast is at.
No, you'll know. You'll know. For Darren, I'm Jamie. Thanks to all of you. JB and Goldwater Show returns at noon tomorrow, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. We'll see you then.